So we are here today on the new moon. It is September 2nd. What a big day. It's a Virgo new moon. I'm with my friend Nicole Finch from California, and The Ascension is her business. And we are going to talk about all the energies going on with the new moon and why we even decided to get together and why it's important to sort of do like a proactive way of using the energies of new and full moon and all the eclipses to impact your life, to impact humanity. How are we trying to assist the ascension happening on the planet? So thank you for being here. Like and subscribe, and that helps the channel. It helps us know that you like what we're talking about, and we'll put all the links below for everything you need. And please engage. Please ask us some questions. If there's anything you want to see coming up in the near future, that would be fabulous for us. So welcome, Nicole. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Deanna. Thank you for having me.
So tell me, Nicole, why were you inspired to talk today about the new moon?
Well, new moon is always a place for new beginnings, and I am a Virgo. My sun sign is Virgo, and Deanna, I know that you have Virgo in your chart as well, a lot of it, right?
Mm-hmm. I have a moon, a Venus, a rising sign, and Pluto, Uranus in Virgo.
Awesome.
Yeah. So both of us are being personally impacted by this new moon, and impacted in a good way. Especially, it depends on, are you doing it with love or are you doing it with fear? And we're both kind of moving into this with this excitement of like, hey, I'm going to put my good juju out into this new moon to create some new beginnings, right? In the Virgo realm for you, Nicole, because it's your sun, it might be a little bit more about how you shine in the world, your identity, your ego, your personality. And for me, it's similar to that because it's my rising sign, but it's also the touchy-feely moon. It's like all those things that really feel super juicy to me. And Venus is like, how am I creating the things that I really value? And part of that is valuing myself, but valuing what I give to the planet. And so I'm kind of proactively engaging in magnifying that energy about how I show up on this ascension process and how I share and help others. And I know that that's a big piece of who you are too, but is there anything you want to say to that?
I'm like freezing. I don't know. I feel like I do better when I'm just talking with you as opposed to like talking with other people. I don't know.
Not talking with other people.
What's that? But there's like no audience there. I don't know. It feels like.
Okay, I'll just move forward and
Okay.
talk a little bit about the astrology. And I do want to mention that Nicole has some amazing meditations that are using the tree of life, which is a sacred geometry, and it is also part of the Kabbalah. And I'll put some links below about her techniques, but it's just another way to, I call it active meditation because it's not really quiet, right? It's an internal process that you're visualizing and moving through. But for me, it's very purgative, maybe is the right word. Like when I start to feel things moving, I feel it tactically in my body, and sometimes my heart will start pounding really hard and I'll get the chills, and I can just get this flood of energy, right? As I start to intentionally move through this tree of life in this meditation, and some of my own active meditations as well. I get similar sensations. That's kind of how I know it's working. Like that's instead of me just playing around in imaginational world, it's that intentional imagination where we're actively playing with our energy and the energies of the universe. So the very amazing and beautiful synchronicities that happened with this particular Virgo new moon is that yesterday, Pluto retrograded back into Capricorn, and everyone's been hearing about how Pluto's moved into Aquarius. It's the age of Aquarius, and Pluto is pretty much moved into Aquarius, but it's just going to retrograde back into Capricorn at 29 degrees until November 19th, which then it will move into Aquarius for the next 19 years. And it takes like 300 years for it to go back around to get to Capricorn again. So we're really going to be done with Capricorn. What does that mean? You're probably asking, well, what's been going on for you since 2008, which is when Pluto went into Capricorn? What's the theme of the thing that you've been growing and maturing and navigating through? And hopefully you feel like you kind of graduated from something, right? And you moved into a new space. And this little tiny stint where we have a couple of months back in Capricorn is just really cleaning up all the dust, the little pieces, the little things, getting really clear. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to be there again. I'm aiming this direction now, right? So it's just a really clearing time. I don't see that there'll be any negative challenges. It'll probably be, because it's retrograde, it'll probably be a lot of internal ahas of like, oh my God, I'm so totally different now. And I'm really excited about the future, right? That'll be maybe the sensation that we're feeling. And also with Mercury just now coming off of its retrograde, that again is that internal mental energy. And it did go retrograde in Virgo. So there's like another little piece of the puzzle. It went retrograde in Virgo and now it's in Leo, but it's going to come back through into Virgo again next week, in fact. So that happened yesterday. And then we have the new moon in Virgo. And Capricorn is an earth sign, Virgo's an earth sign, so they're in harmony, right? So that was kind of interesting. And then later today, just slightly after this new moon, Uranus is going retrograde in another earth sign, Taurus. And so we have this beautiful energy going on between Capricorn, Virgo, and Taurus. We call that a trine, and it's a harmony energy. We can get kind of lazy with trines, but if you take advantage of it, like doing an intention, doing a ceremony, writing, whatever it is, if you do something intentional, you're activating that harmony. Whereas if you just are like, oh, I don't have to do anything because it's so easy and fun and la, 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 then you're kind of like letting this opportunity pass you by without getting the results from it. So that's basically kind of how trines are in our life. They're like opportunities for blessings if you know about it and you take advantage of it. So it's kind of helpful to know what's going on in your chart, what planets are in those harmonious aspects to your chart. So both Nicole and I, since we have heavy Virgo, are getting some impact from that beautiful trine. And that again is another reason why we want to work with this energy and help it fuel what we're trying to bring in as our manifestations. And then the other amazing thing is tomorrow, which is the 3rd of September, Mars will be squaring Neptune at 29 degrees, which is considered an anorectal degree. It's the very last degree of a sign. It is the most potent degree of a sign. And so both Mars and Neptune are at 29 degrees of the signs that they're in. They're in a square, which is a challenging aspect, but that just means that we're supposed to be really paying attention, not let our inner child run the show, like be more mature. There might be some delusion about some things we're doing. We might have to really kind of rethink what have we been doing while Mars has been in Gemini. And Neptune adds a little bit of it's a spiritual planet, and especially in Pisces, it's spiritual, but it's also sometimes the unconscious, the part that we're not totally aware of, where we have doubt and insecurities and the facts are not clear. We have to use our intuition. So that's just an ask that's happening tomorrow. And then at the same time tomorrow, Venus is going to be conjunct the South Node in Libra, and Venus rules Libra. And being conjunct the South Node basically means we're being asked to let go of our emotional attachments, those things that are not serving us, whether it be in relationship to others or relationship to ourselves. The South Node is letting go of old patterns, old beliefs, old programming that's really not able to move forward. And so Venus is bringing us into this place of emotional resonance where we're like, oh, is that really something I love, or am I just doing it because I've always done it? Right. So we're becoming really aware of how we value our lives. What do we value in our relationships? What do we value in ourselves? And again, it's this ask for an up level by letting go of some stuff that's really not working to move forward. Sometimes we do get emotionally attached to things just because they're familiar. It's a habit, right? And yet you might ask yourself, and maybe Mercury coming back out of its retrograde will be bringing clarity about why am I in that behavior in the first place? How's it really serving me? Maybe it was just taught to me by my parents. Maybe it was expected of me by society, right? And we haven't questioned it, and now's the time to question it and just make some changes. And then Mars, since Mars was squaring Neptune on the 4th, it's going to go into Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. And it's going to be, if you think about it, like Cancer rules the home, it's kind of that mother bear energy. So Mars in Cancer really ignites us to have really strong boundaries for our security. And that could be in the home, and it can just be in our own inner home, our inner body, our inner being. Like, how do we feel secure? And really initiating some of those strong boundaries. And Mars might even be us fighting for what our security is, right? That inner warrior that's like, I really deserve this. I really want this. I really need it. And I'm not going to put up with maybe that South Node energy anymore. So I'm really going to do what I need, right? So that's what I've got for the next few days. This is a pop-in month, and there's a whole bunch of things going on. I'm going to do a couple of other YouTubes about all the energy in September. And for me personally, I've been doing some pretty fun gratitude meditations where I've written out in words, right? Written out all the different themes in my life that I'm manifesting. I've got relationship, I've got business, I've got employees, I've got home, you know, the environment that I live in. And then I have a timeline. I'm working with my timelines and being in alignment with a future timeline that already has all of that in it. Because I want to be resonating with that timeline. I don't want to be resonating with where I have been, which again is the Venus and South Node kind of energy. It's like letting go of the timeline that's not serving me. And so anyway, what are you doing in your life, Nicole? How is that working out?
Everything you said, you just dropped a whole bunch of gold nuggets. And I was like looking at my own personal chart as you're speaking. And I was like, wow, that is right in alignment. So I'd like to, just mention some of the things that are going on in my personal life and like how it could relate to what you just said. So first thing, we're coming out of a cycle, a 16-year cycle, you said. So in 2008, I had my daughter in 2009. So she was a big manifestation for me. And before that, I mean, up to that point, she was what I was in the process of creating. And that makes total sense. I think it was like in 2014 when I got the strong inclination that now is the time to start my business, which is the Ascension. So it's evolved over time, like what the Ascension looks like and what it feels like and how it's developing. So there's like a refinement process that's been going on. I want to pull up my chart real quick and like look at it because I was having these considerations as you were talking about it. So you said that it goes back into Capricorn for a little bit of cleanup. And yeah, I can see how that would transpire before it goes into the Aquarius. What else did you say about let's see, I'm going back on my notes here. I was trying to write down everything you were saying. You said Mercury goes retrograde into Virgo, Or it was in retrograde in Virgo.
Yeah, it started its retrograde in Virgo 3 weeks ago, and then went back into Leo, and then now it's going forward in Leo, and next week it will be in Virgo again.
Okay. So right now, Mercury is right on top of my Mercury in the 5th house, like transiting right on top of my natal Mercury. So, and as far as like the tree of life goes, and the Sephiro that Mercury corresponds to is Hod, and it's all about communication and relationships. So that's right on top of my Mercury right now in Cancer, which explains why like I'm having this like emotional thing happen that's not really hasn't really come out. The emotional piece hasn't come out, but it's under the surface. I can sense it. And that's probably why. It's because Mercury is transiting my Mercury right now and doing the cleanup in Cancer.
You said your Mercury's in Cancer?
My Mercury is in Leo.
Yeah, I have a Mercury in Leo too. That's interesting. Just another maybe thing about us. Like, why do we know each other? You know? Interesting.
Right. I hadn't even looked.
We were both having Mercury retrograde transit past our own Mercuries. And so that, to me, I just like totally took time off. I went hermit mode and stayed in my house, did a staycation, and did all these new meditations, rested. Like, I needed to restore. I was depleted quite a bit. And so maybe that's part of Leo, right? Is like the glutton, just kind of like want to sit down and relax and be treated like royalty. And that's what I did to myself. I gave it to myself, right? That permission to just go inside and really integrate that Mercury retrograde, because it started on my moon and Venus and then went back over my Mercury. And I also have a sun in Leo. So it didn't touch my sun, but it was activating it. Like my son could feel something was going on. And you had an activation too from the Mercury retrograde. What's been going on for you for the past 3 weeks? How do you think the Mercury retrograde?
Quite a bit. So, well, one, you and I started collaborating like right before the Mercury retrograde, in a more in a deeper level. And then also I've connected with another individual on the trading aspect. So I've been trading futures and Forex markets, and just been in collaboration with another individual and building a business plan out for that piece as well. So really getting the systems down. It was like learning the indicators, learning the systems, and piecing it together with the energy work as well, and tying it all together. So and now it's at a place where it's like becoming more and more tangible. Yeah. And then on the other side, really getting my sacred geometry, Kabbalah, energy work out there in social media too. So I've been working on the back end to like be more out there.
Yeah. And I do want to say that the interesting piece about knowing your chart is that my Virgo, the very beginning of Virgo and Leo for me is in the 12th house, which is a very hidden, quiet, behind the scenes house, whereas yours is in a more out in the open. I think it maybe is it your 6th house?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is your area of service and interacting with others on a daily basis. So no wonder, even though we both were having this Mercury stimulation from Mercury retrograde, yours was in such a totally different part of your chart. And so it makes sense that you were being inspired to work through and get clear and reorganized in that way. And I was doing it internal because it was in my 12th house.
Yeah, that is interesting. One thing that you had mentioned, Uranus goes retrograde this afternoon or tonight. Yes. Or was it this morning?
Oh, you're right. Your Uranus was this morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Yeah.
Okay. So right when we started this meeting. So for me, that's in Taurus, which is also my rising sign. It's also where I hold Chiron, which is my, wound that I'm learning to master, in my first house of identity, self-identity. So that could also indicate why I felt, a little bit flustered this morning and felt like I needed to ground.
You mentioned that you've been struggling to get a project done for about a week that had to do with Uranus in the tree of life. Da'at, it was the Sephiro you mentioned, and
Here.
so you were challenged to move forward on that project, because the reality for everyone to understand is when a planet goes retrograde, it actually kind of stays stationed. It's at the same degree for about a week before it actually starts to move retrograde, because it's going forward. It has to go slow down, stop, and then go the other way. At least that's the way we perceive it. And so, now that it's retrograde, it'll be interesting, some little feedback later, to hear how you're able to maybe move forward on that project that involved Uranus. And
so Uranus is related to the Sephiro Da'at, which is, it's called the abyss. So it's where you're moving from physical manifestation to the spiritual realm, and it's spoken into existence. So you speak your creation into existence. The first creation was the word. So that project that I'm working on is, right now, like Deanna said, I've been in that midpoint of bringing it into the world, or introducing it to the world. So we'll see. I'm hoping to get to work on it today, but it's been interesting because the first few Sephiro from Earth up to this point has been like, I've been releasing one a day, and then this one's taken me about a week.
Releasing one video.
What's that?
Been releasing one video a day on each Sephiro. Yeah. And Mercury moves into Virgo, and Taurus is an earth sign, Virgo is an earth sign. So Mercury moves into Virgo at the end of this week. And so I feel like that's probably when you'll actually get it out to the media. I mean, you could be doing it sooner, but there'll be that harmonious connection happening at that time when Mercury enters Virgo.
And then you said Neptune and Mars are going to be 29 degrees.
Mars is 29. Yeah, Mars is 29 degrees of Gemini, and Neptune is 29 degrees of Pisces. So they're in a square or a 90-degree angle.
Okay.
And so if someone's looking at their chart, where do you have Gemini? Where do you have Pisces? Because that's just a little challenge. Again, it's just for one day that they're inexact, but it's kind of bringing up a shadow part of us that we're not aware of, I think. The way that Neptune is, the illusions will become more known. Or the questions might need to be asked, like.
Oh, I see. So, got it. Okay, I was looking at Venus. So Mars is going to be square Neptune tomorrow. So, like, for example, mine is in the second house and then in the 11th house, transiting. And then I wonder how it will affect my Jupiter at 29 degrees in my fourth house. And does it have any relation? Because it's.
Sign is your fourth house?
What's that?
Sign?
It is Cancer.
Oh, so Mars is moving into Cancer the next day. Well, that would be a trine.
So Cancer to Jupiter.
Neptune. Yeah, Cancer to Pisces is a trine. They're both water signs. So it's the Neptune that's trining your Jupiter. That would be a really good day to do a big meditation, because Neptune rules Pisces, that spiritual, that connection, no boundaries, the all out there. And Jupiter expands everything it touches. So it again is a very expanded state. And in Cancer, it's like expanding the touchy-feely, security, home, you know, that place, like, can you feel secure in the all? And you really do care about internal security. We all do, but I know you personally. And so that's like a drive that you have, because Jupiter is asking you to really move in the direction of internal security, emotional security. That's what Cancer's security is about. Whereas Capricorn, the opposite sign of Cancer, which is also security interested, Capricorn is very interested in amassing external security, like money, homes, cars, things. But Cancer wants to manifest, I just want to be safe inside my body with the people I love, right? I want to feel safe and secure. They do like things around them in the home, but that's kind of like a dysfunctional emotional security, right? It's like where you think, oh, all of this stuff I have gives me security, when really it's probably a burden, a little bit of baggage. But that's just like an emotional need that's not really being fulfilled. So we sometimes fill it with stuff in our lives, right? But Cancer's that more of that emotional security. Yeah. And so Jupiter in your Cancer is, again, it's the trine to Neptune. So just like ask yourself, am I basing these decisions, these actions that I'm taking to increase my security, are they based in practical steps, Virgo, right?
And then with Pluto going retrograde back into Capricorn, I'm assuming like right now it's at 29 degrees also.
Yes, it's right. So but it's a earth sign. So it's not trining your water signs. It's actually, that'd be squaring. I'm not looking at the chart.
Well, it's directly across, like 10th, the 10th house.
Right. So your Jupiter is opposite Pluto. That's interesting.
Why?
Because Jupiter's expansive. Pluto's probably going to ask you to let go, because it's retrograding. Right? It's finishing up the stuff in Capricorn. So it's asking you to let go of any dreams or ideals or securities that aren't really creating for your future. They're just based on an emotional.
It's the childhood home. That's a fantasy that I would ever buy my childhood home. So yeah.
Good. You don't want to live there.
I don't want to live there. Yeah. No, but I had a good idea. I had some fun plans that I would do with it. But the reality of it is
maybe the plans and the allowing yourself to play with that fun planning and imaginational stuff was just what you needed to get healed from it, to like feel that juicy, yummy, you know, because we want to remember all those memories from our childhood and our parents. And
well, for me, I wanted to remember the imagination, like the possibility. And I find that I do that quite often as I idealize. Like there's some fanaticism.
Yeah. And that's okay. We all have our areas of addiction, and fanaticism is a good word. Sometimes it's obsession, right? And so So it's again back to Virgo. It's like, well, I can only do one thing at a time. Maybe a Virgo can do 3 things, 4 things at a time, but it's like you need to narrow it down and go, okay, what in my idealization fanaticism list, all my fantasies, what's really practical? What can I actually pull off? And what's just like me wasting time for the joy and bliss of it, right? So what can I actually pull off? And is it going to benefit me in the future? Not that everything we do has to benefit us tangibly, but just enter into that conversation of curiosity. Like, am I literally just wasting time? It's like watching a certain TV show that is not improving your life. Like, why would you be spending time fantasizing about that when it's really not, it's not in alignment with your path. It's not in alignment with your goals, maybe financially. I don't know. It's just an opportunity to look at all those stuff and narrow it back down. Like, which ones do I need to get rid of and just let go? Again, South Node. What do I just need to let go of? Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Now, what about you? What's coming up for Deanna?
Oh my God. I'm having a Saturn's return right now in Pisces, which is opposite the Virgo, right? So I'm having some opposition, literally. Saturn's retrograde, so it's actually the second time that Saturn's going over my Saturn. And I feel different. I'm really noticing how different I feel today versus the first time it went over my Saturn. I felt the first time it went over, I was a little bit stimulated to like be too optimistic. I was in the fantasy world. Not that that's bad, but I wasn't grounded into practicality. And I had some things happen that kind of woke me up a little bit. And now this time when it's going retrograde, I'm like, okay, now I get it. These are the pieces I really need to work on. I need to take initiative as the adult Deanna and not let my inner child who wants like the ice cream and the cake and the roller coaster ride, like they don't get to lead the show. they get to have some fun, but I get to lead the show and take some practical steps. So now that it's retrograde, I'm literally taking those steps. And the interesting thing for me is that this new moon is exactly conjunct my ascendant, same degree, 11 degrees, which means it's opposite my descendant in the 7th house. So I'm being asked on a very big level, do I want to take steps towards my personal growth, or do I want to take steps towards being in a relationship? And I don't have a relationship, but I am manifesting a relationship for me. And what I'm finding, the illusion that's being revealed here is that I have a huge desire to be taken care of, and relationship has always been that habit, that handicap, right? And yet my sole purpose is to be creating my own identity in business, in career, in reputation, right? Who and how I am in the world, and not to be taken care of. I can be supported, but that's not my life's purpose, is to be taken care of anymore. And so that's been a really hard let go for me, because I've had to work my shadow about a fear, right? Can I actually do it? Can I pull it off? Do I believe in myself? And some days I do, and some days I don't. It's just an up and down. And I have to trust that every single time the down comes, that I'm just learning more, healing more, and building more courage and more confidence and more truth of who I am, right? Because it probably was the lies that I took on as a young child, and from the patriarchy taught me that women are not strong and self-sufficient. And so for whatever reason, that was really brought up in my Chiron wound, was how I depended on others to provide for me and make me feel secure and take care of me. And yet they always let me down, right? So I'm healing that theme, that dynamic, by really creating my own inner security, whether it's inner and or outer, either or both, it's an inner security so that that can't be taken away from me ever again. If it's in here, it's always here, right? And I'm also having a square at the exact same time. My Jupiter in my 10th house is squaring both transit Saturn and my Saturn. I was born with a square. So there's always the ask in my life. There's always been that tension of between work and relationship and self. Like, how do I find the balance? Because they don't match up. They're not in harmony. And now that I'm understanding it intellectually because of my chart knowledge, I don't do so much self-criticism. Like, what's wrong with me? How come I can't get this? Right? It's more about, oh, that's just part of the life story that I'm on, is that I'm always going to be challenged a little bit, and I have to find the equilibrium in myself, which is meditation practices. And confidence boosting practices, because it's almost like if I go towards the career, then I feel like I'm letting go of relationship, or if I go towards what I really want to do as an individual, I'm letting go of my career. You know, it's always felt like an either or, and now I'm trying to manifest all, yes, and all of it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how that plays out when you're born with that kind of a square in your chart, but I'm going to be the litmus test. So
I love that. You're learning how to navigate it and incorporate it all the pieces of yourself.
mm-hmm. And also learning to just be okay, that when I feel like I'm not in the ease and the flow, it's like, it's okay, Deanna. You know, there's no perfection. There's just progress. It's like you wake up and you do something else again that day. You know, it's like you don't put yourself down because of what you didn't accomplish. You focus on, well, look at all the things I did do, you know? So, and that's a very Virgo thing as well.
Yeah, that self-criticism or judgment can come naturally.
Yeah, and I do, if there's any Virgos out there watching this, I just want to say that, or if you know a Virgo, Virgos get a really hard judgment from the collective, because we're known as being perfectionists. But when you think about it, nothing on the planet that is successful would be the way it is without that drive for perfection. I think I can do it better. I think I can make this better. So, you know, it's divine perfection is really what it is. It's not about criticism. It's about, this is wonderful, but can we improve it? You know, it's like, even in the Olympics, you know, they're breaking record after record after record. It's because they want to improve. They want to get better. And so there's no fault in that. Virgos are just inbred with that. And part of the challenge, I think, for Virgo is a Virgo person or Virgo Mercury especially, but can we do the positive self-talk? Like, don't let your critical inner critic be tearing you down. Can you transform them into positive talk? And at the same time, when you're giving someone else potential criticism because you're like, you know, this is great what you did, but I really want it to be a little better. You need to find finesse. Like, how do you say, oh, wow, I really love how you did this. What would happen if we, you know, just morphed it a little? Or sometimes it's about just surrendering. Does it matter? Is that life and death? Does it matter if that detail is not perfect in my mind? You know, if it's just a meal, who cares? Eat it anyway. If it's something really to be impactful in your life, then yes, you want it to be more perfect. It was brain surgery, yes, you want it to be perfect. But if it's just a meal that didn't go to perfect levels, then just let that one go. You know, you got to pick your battles. So
yeah, definitely. I've noticed that, and I don't know if this is a culmination of everything that's happening with this new moon, but recently I feel like okay, let me back up. In the past, I have felt like I've had two worlds that I've separated, like my spiritual practices and like my business practices, like you know, how I present myself in the front versus like how I am in the background, in the back, right? Behind closed doors versus how I present myself in the world. And recently, like maybe over the last few months, it's felt like I'm finally braiding them together, and like it's all coming interweaving together, like, and it's all good, like it's all the good juicy stuff.
Yeah. And that's because Neptune in Pisces and Saturn in Pisces has been really pushing everybody to build that relationship with spirit. And Saturn is about making it something you're proud of, doing the work. And because Saturn rules Capricorn, generally that 10th house of reputation, it's really about showing it to the world. It's not about just keeping it all inside anymore. So both Saturn and Neptune are in Pisces. And Neptune will be exiting next year out of Pisces. And again, it's just like Pluto moving into Aquarius. It's not going to be there for the rest of our lifetime. And it's going to move into a fire sign, which will be interesting. But so this is our opportunity to really fine tune, because the veil is very thin. When Neptune is in Pisces, it's like we have access to that spiritual realm so much easier. And that's why I think so many people are waking up very quickly in the last 2 years. It's been, I don't know, been amazing to me, really. How many people, because for the longest time I was like, oh my God, it's taking me forever to get over this and wake up completely and get out there. You know, like 15, 20 years I've been working on it. And now people are waking up in like 3 months, 6 months, just like kabam. And I think that's amazing. And I do place both Pluto going into Aquarius and Neptune being in Pisces, the reason for that happening. There's no mistakes. And I do want to say again, before we're done today, that in September on the 17th, we're going to have the first eclipse of the next eclipse cycle, because starting in January, the nodes are going to move into, the moon's nodes are going to move into Pisces and Virgo. Right now they're in Libra and Aries, and we've been having Libra and Aries eclipses. And so this eclipse that we're having in 2 weeks is the very first eclipse of this new cycle. And so it's going to bring in a bunch, pay attention to what comes up, what are the themes, because that's what you're going to be working on from January through the middle of the following year. It'll be an 18-month cycle. And again, that's spiritual, right? So the North Node is moving into Pisces, which is saying you need to be aiming in this direction. You need to build yourself in this direction.
So that's going to be our compass.
That's the compass. That's where the GPS, the true north is, right? We're heading towards that. And then that means we're letting go of the Virgo stuff that's not serving us, which is critical, which is I'm not good enough, which is being mired down too much in the details. The details are important, but again, it's about, are you wasting your time on dishes when the reality is you need to be going to the gym? You know, like, what are you really letting your energy frizzle away on all those details? Like which details? We talked about it earlier, bringing it into a doable, practical number of things to worry about. Don't worry about the dust on the table, because who cares? There's going to be dust there in 2 days, right? I mean, dusting is one of those home activities that our mothers and grandmothers did. And I'm like, why dust? Like, who cares? There's nobody coming along with a white glove anymore, you know, like let that one go. But
so letting go of the wasteful resources, like the wasted time, the wasted energy, letting go of that and really focusing on what's going to give you the results that you're.
Yeah. And Virgo's organized. They're just innately wired for organization. So you can use that to your advantage, like even to your spiritual practice. Organize your spiritual practice. Like, what are the ones that are really working for me? Virgo is an amazing researcher and learner. So there's going to be a lot of learning, but again, it's going to be, am I learning shit that I don't need to learn? Like, is it really helping me in the long term? Or is it just entertaining? Am I just going towards it like, squirrel over here, or is it really something I need to be putting my attention and my physical energy in? Yeah. Yeah. And then Virgo
Lots of
rules
ideas.
health. It rules health, right? So we're going to really be called to pay attention to how we're not taking those daily steps towards our health, our optimal health. Your health is your wealth, right? If you are eating crap food, if you are watching crap media, if you are sitting on your ass all day, you need to take steps to increase your health and vitality. This vessel, right, is your sacred temple. And that in itself, sacred temple, helps us be on the planet, but also houses our soul, our spiritual space. So we want to take care of it. We want to love it. We want it to serve us to the best of its ability. It has amazing properties and it's so resilient. Like, I can't even believe our bodies put up with the way we treat them. And if we just paid attention to what we're consuming, literally, whether it's media or food or drink or friends, what are we consuming? The things that are really healthy for us. So that'll be a little bit of a focus, letting go of the stuff that's not serving us, because that'll be the South Node will be in Virgo in January. But again, the reason we brought this up is because the eclipse is coming this month. There's no mistake that we're having a Virgo new moon today, and 2 weeks we're having a Pisces full moon, to just bring in those themes. It's the slow preliminary energy for what's happening starting in January.
Perfect.
A new president by then, I guess, or maybe we won't. I don't know.
We shall see. We shall see how that'll evolve.
Yeah. Politics. Anyway, anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot. Yeah. Thank you, Deanna.
You're welcome. Goodbye to everybody. And please put something in the comments about what you would like to see from us, either individually or together. We love all the comments and we will respond, and maybe we'll even do a YouTube about your particular topic. Thank you so much for being here. Love and light. Bye-bye.
Bye.